Why are complex fractions difficult in rational expressions? Imagine trying to solve a puzzle where some pieces are inside other pieces. That's what working with complex fractions in rational expressions feels like. It can seem confusing at first because of all the layers involved. When you see a fraction within a fraction, your brain has to switch gears quickly. It's like handling multiple steps at once, which can be tricky if you're still learning the basics of algebra. Let's start with what rational expressions are. They are fractions where both the top part, called the numerator, and the bottom part, called the denominator, are polynomials. For example, a simple rational expression could be plus frac x plus 1x2. Now, a complex fraction happens when either the numerator or the denominator, or both, are themselves rational expressions. Think about plus frac 1x plus 1 plus frac 2x2. That's a fraction inside another fraction, which makes it more complicated to work with. The main reason these are hard is because you need to simplify each part separately first. You have to handle the small fractions inside before you can combine everything. It's like untangling a knot step by step. You also need to remember that the fraction bar means division, so rewriting the complex fraction as a division problem helps. You flip the bottom part, called taking the reciprocal, and then multiply. But before multiplying, it's often necessary to find the least common denominator of all the small fractions inside. That means finding a common multiple of all the denominators involved, which can be confusing if you're not comfortable with factoring polynomials. Factoring is an important step because it helps you cancel out common factors. But if you're still learning how to factor, this can be a challenge. Plus, you have to be careful about values that make any denominator zero. These are called excluded values, and they are restrictions you need to keep in mind throughout the process. If you forget about these restrictions, your answer might include invalid solutions. Handling complex fractions involves many skills at once. You need to divide fractions, factor polynomials, and keep track of restrictions. It's a lot to juggle, especially at first. But breaking the process into clear steps makes it easier. First, simplify all the small fractions inside. Then rewrite the entire complex fraction as a division problem. Next, multiply by the reciprocal of the bottom part. After that, factor everything possible and cancel out common factors. And finally, check for any values that are not allowed. Getting comfortable with these steps takes practice, but it's worth it. Complex fractions are common in algebra, especially when solving inequalities or equations. When you learn how to simplify them correctly, you'll find solving many problems becomes much easier. Remember, each step builds on the previous one. With patience and practice, you'll see that these tricky fractions aren't so intimidating anymore.